I've got a very poorly JDM 90s Hero on the ramp here, but hopefully we've got some parts that have arrived that are going to help us get this thing back to glory. I packed up my Pulsar GTIR over 3 years ago after it burst a coolant pipe, but we've recently started bringing it back to life. We're still a long way away from finishing, and things are about to get a lot worse. It's kind of happening to me right now. So we've had a delivery of the parts that we were waiting on in the last episode, so we're going to run through them with you guys right now. It's the 1st of January, I'm a little bit tender, shall we say. Spent last night up to the bells dancing with the dog. Right, so guys, some things we've got. Spigot rings in this box. I'll show you them a little bit later because I need to take the wheels back off to show you. I have brought down the adapter for the pod filter, which is going to go on there. Might make up a gasket, paper gasket, just so that's going to house our pod filter. So we'll get that later as well. I already had this. Something else I've had for years is the badges. There is one missing from the front. I need to locate it. So we have them for the car as well. I'm going to keep them in the car so I don't lose them, but I'm going to wait until we've cleaned it before we attach these on. Next, I've got these clips. I've ordered all these injector plugs. I don't actually want them, I just wanted the clips. But that doesn't actually look right. They look slightly different. So I don't know if that's going to work. I read somewhere that it does, but it doesn't look like it. So I might have drawn a blank with that. And we've got some heat shrink for the wiring, so we're going to tidy up some of the wiring. I did have heat shrink, but I didn't have very thin stuff to do the single wires, and we want to kind of protect all this and tidy it all up, so we're going to do that today. We need to do that while the inlet manifold is off, so we've got this to tackle. And we still have all these ancillary hoses that we need to find a place for. They're going to be split between this side of the engine, I think, and inlet manifold. So we're going to have to team up and see what's happening there. So we'll hopefully have that finished today and maybe have the inlet manifold back in, which means that we should be able to start it and start the bleeding process. And once it's bled, the oil would be nice and warm so we can then service the car. So I'm hoping that there's no hiccups and everything went okay with these coolant pipes and there's no leaks so that we can get the car serviced as well. So just slight dilemma, I've pulled this coolant pipe out from here which runs down in to cool the turbo. Now it's got a slight bend on it and I've only really got a straight pipe, but so I'm kind of concerned that I might be using a pipe that's for somewhere else in there. I'm too rough for this, to be honest. Small update here, I'm slowly replacing these ones on the inlet manifolds. We've got loads here, but I'm kind of looking at these 90-degree bends here and kind of figuring out where these all go. I've got a few 90s, but I think I'm short on 90-degree bends, so I don't know where that might be that one there. I found there's another little one in there. Oh my god, I don't know if I have enough hoses now. So I've went for having too many hoses to not having enough. I've seen a picture on the kit, I should have 18 hoses and I have 17. I think I'm a bend short. Remember the bag was burst, so there's a hole in the bag. And I'm wondering if one's dropped out, so I'm going to have to see there's a big hole there. So I'm wondering either one's fell out or I've used one in the wrong place. Right guys, new dilemma here. That tiny pipe in the back there, down in there, which I think is actually this one. And this doesn't go on there, although it's a good fit, right? For me to get in to replace that one, like to get this one here, I've had to slacken off this breather box to allow it to move out, and I think I need to do the same with this valve here. Now, the problem with this valve is the bolt is 1, 2 and 3's down in there, so I think I actually need to split it and remove here and here and take the top section of the valve off to get me access to the third bolt, which would allow me to change the hose. Now, there's a gasket in there, and I don't trust that if I take this off, that gasket's not going to turn to dust, basically, because it's either cork or paper. But something's telling me years ago when I was working on this, I meant to buy this gasket, and I bought that gasket, and so I never used it, because it was the wrong one, obviously. So I might actually have that gasket. So until I go and find it, I'm not touching this hose. And I really want to replace everything, that's why we bought the kit. So I'm either going to have to order this, or leave it. If later on in the video that's not changed, this is the reason, but I am going to try and find the gasket. Digging through some of the old Japanese parts from the storage there. So I just want to show you guys, this is live and raw. So we've got the mud flaps, all different colours, so they're going to have to need rectified. I've pretty much made a mess trying to find some parts, but we have found some Pulsar parts. That's a spare fuel rail with all the injectors. No clips on that either, unfortunately. No regulator or anything, just a fuel rail. There's some gas struts there. There's loads of nuts and bolts in there. And I'm not joking when I say this, but I think that is the gasket. I think that's it. Yes, we've found the gasket. That will save us any more delays. Now we can remove the top half of the idle control valve to access the bracket, which is held on by these 3 bolts, which you can see are stuck on pretty well. We can then remove the retaining clip for the hose, and then we can slip the valve off. It's a good job we found the gasket, otherwise I don't think I would have been able to do this. Before we can fit the valve back on, we need to clean the remainders of the old gasket. And you can see the comparison from the old one to the new one that we've fitted. And it's back on with the base of the valve. And tighten everything back up, not forgetting that new gasket we managed to dig out. With this done, it allows us to connect the last few remaining hoses from the kit. And that's it complete for now. We will revisit it again in the future to vapour-plast everything back to new. Before we can reinstall the manifold, I've got a couple of tidy up jobs to complete. First, it's heat shrinking the knock sensor wire just to tidy it up a little bit. And next we've got that destroyed dog bone mount to address. Right, just want to show you guys some progress here. So I've tidied up this wire, have done some diagnostics with this wire. Fella Sean from my work was helping me out, so I just wanted to make sure this wire is good. So I have actually ran a wire to the pin in the ECU and then into this pin here, and there's good continuity, low resistance, which is good. I've pinned it back into this plug. I will try and get a better plug for that, and we do have pins coming, hopefully they're the right ones, so that just needs plugged in. But I want to show you issues I'm having with this poly mount kit. So as you seen a moment ago, I've pressed this bush into this. So there's 2 kind of dog bone mounts, one for the back, one for the front. Turns out I've never had one on the front, so I'll show you the solution to that in a minute. But when I try and fit this one back on, and I'm pushing now, I need this inlet manifold on and the job's done, but as you'll see there, that does not fit in there. So that's going to need trimmed off, I would imagine. I don't know why this is protruding so much when every other bush is like almost flush in the kit. but I'm going to have to trim it. I don't think I've got the wrong bush in. I didn't actually know there was 2 dog bones on this, and it's just dawned on me where the other one is, and it's on a bar that I think I've shown in a previous video in here as spare parts I have for Pulsars, which coincidentally isn't fitted to this car, and I had one sitting over there, and someone actually tried to buy it off me and I almost sold it. It's a good job I didn't. So this is the front crash bar here, and the other mount is to go in there. So hopefully I don't need to trim. But both, I did actually check, both these mounts are the exact same that have been provided. So we're going to have to mess about with that at a later date. I'm leaving this one in just now. I should have a bush for that as well, but the kit's as much as of a puzzle as the coolant kit was, so I really just want this running right now. Because there was no dog bone mount in the back where it was destroyed, I'm just replacing this one for now, but I'm going to have to trim this first before it goes in. Just to give you some context, that's the old one that was broken, that's the new one. It is definitely longer, for what reason I do not know. So we're going to have to trim this. Back in the engine bay, guys, one of the jobs that I have to do before I put this inlet manifold on, this needs rethread or cleaned up of some sort. This bolt's supposed to go in there, but it was kind of no going in properly, so I'm going to tap and die kit out, and we're going to clean this thread up. I'm not actually sure if it's all supposed to be studs, and these studs are removable, and it should maybe be a stud, I'm not sure, but this bolt is what was in it, so I'm going to clean it up and see if we can get it back in it. Then I'm going to clean round the inlet manifold, seating area, get the gasket and everything back on, and we're going to slip it into place, connect those 2 cooling pipes and start running everything, get the new vacuum in. We've tightened up the dog bone mount, it's in now. Had a little bit of faffing about to do with it, but overall I'm kind of happy with it. I'm not overall impressed with the quality, to be honest, but it is what it is. I can now plug this back in as well. So this is Darren's tap and die set. I'm stealing a quick shot of it. I have a similar one, but it's up at the garage at home. What I'm doing is I'm taking the nut. I don't have, just assume I don't have a thread pitch gauge. I do have one, but you can actually take the nut and put it in to the die and find out what size. So I'm going along them. Japanese, I think is normally 125. So there's a 9125, but it's a bit slack in there. So I've went across to the M8 125. There we go. This away. So the 8125 is the size. So now we know we need the tap 8mm by 125, and I've got little adapters we're going to put on. We're going to clean up the hole, and then hopefully that should be it. Just want to show you guys a wee bit of tidying up. There's a wee bit involved into these old cars, so I just want to show you some of the wee tips and stuff that we do along the way. So instead of using the tap and die kit with the kind of bar there to tap it, it kind of gets in the way quite a lot and hits over things, especially for doing a neat engine bay job. So what I do have is a little socket set for tap and dies, for taps, sorry, and it's this one here. So we can now use a socket and a ratchet to tap that instead of using the handheld. Just going to need to make sure that we're 100% straight when we do this. So I've just actually turned this in by hand first, guys, and it's sitting pretty good. It's nice and straight, and I'm getting a good feel when I start the turning process. So we're just going to turn away here, and every now and again we'll just back out a little bit, and it should just lift any rubbish that's in there out, and then in again. Don't just send it home, have a few turns in and out. So that's going in nice and good. So I'm hoping that it fixes our issue with this stud, because if you make a mess of this is actually on the cylinder head, so it's a cylinder head off job, and we'd need to go away and get machined. Maybe need to oversize the hole or put a helicoil in it or something like that. But that felt pretty good. Got a bit of crap on there. It looks pretty good. And we're off. So hopefully we've got that issue resolved when I come to install it. I'm now just going to clean this area up. This is the tricky bit now. Fitting, so it looks good down in there, all the new fittings. Hopefully I've not missed anything, praying to God. But the tricky bit is getting all these nuts back on without dropping them down in the engine bay. Especially when you drop one and you don't hear the sweet sound of it hitting the floor. So I'm going to take my time now and try and get all these started loosely by finger. Then we're just going to draw them in with a spanner or however we can. A kind of spread pattern across the manifold so as it's drawn in equally, and then we'll give it a final tighten, and then we should be able to tackle all of the vacuum system. I've got 2 coolant pipes to put in as well, which I'll do right now while I still have a bit of pivot in the manifold. So I've got them to do as well, so I'll do it from the side, start all these, then we can fix the vacuum lines and then get the pod filter and stuff. Awkward point in the video, I fell behind. The extra time it's taken to do knock sensing and stuff is kind of, I've lost a day or so just fixing some of the trouble that I wasn't expecting to do. I need the ramp for customer work right now. I've quickly just fired everything on, so there's a lot that's not new, but there's obviously a lot that is. You've seen us put the coolant and stuff in. I'm just recording this just in case, it's the first start, just in case something goes wrong. But I'm just going to take it out and then it's to come back in, so it's literally going 50 feet. It's not going any further, so we shouldn't need to worry. There's plenty of coolant and everything in it, so we shouldn't really need to worry too much about overheating or anything, or bleeding or anything like that right now, because I've still to do all that properly, which I'll show you. So this is a just in case moment. So I'm just going to prime it a few times and see if it will go. Hear the pump prime. There's obviously fuel to get up, but I don't hear the pump. This needs to go, man. We can't push this off, it's too heavy. Let's see if we can get some juice in it. Normally I like to clean it a couple of times and let the fuel come up, because we did lose some fuel into the system, but I'm not hearing, normally hear a wee. It's kind of happening to me right now. Oh yes, we're in. So we've got adapter name, petrol, ECU number. So it's getting some status, it's connected, self-diagnostics. Ignition signal circuit. Oh my god. I think I forgot to plug in the coil. Oh my god. I forgot to plug in the coil. See when oh no, it's leaving in there. Oh, I didn't see it. Did I? I have, there. Look. There it's there. That's the coil. See, to replace that long coolant pipe that I was messing about with, and then I had to put the original back on, I had to remove the main coil. So we've been firing loads of fuel in there, which isn't good. This has got to be it. There's no spark getting in there without this coil. But the plug's not like to go back on. Oh, there we go. Come on, please. If that's it, then I would never have thought to go back there. Please fire up, man. Oh. I don't know if that's because all that fuel's been going in. On that bombshell, if you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully next time, oh that's smelly, hopefully next time we'll be able to fix out the problem with the starting and get this thing over the line. see you guys on the next video.